Where to begin? Where to begin? Man, I sometimes feel like um, I feel like there are paths in life, certain um, endeavors, I guess, if that's the right use of the term. I think it is. But it's things that, like, they're just being continually and repeatedly, without fail, they're being closed to me. And, the doors are all closing, the windows are shutting, um, etc., etc. Like, you talk to people offering to give you work, they say, "Oh, hey, you're the perfect candidate. You'll hear back from us in 3 days, not in cost, or whatever." And you're like, when you hear that, sorry, I'm outside right now, so if you heard that loud ass motor, that's what's going on. Um, but if you hear, like, from people saying, "Oh, you're the perfect candidate. If you don't hear back from us in 3 days, call us back." And then you do call them back, and they just kind of like give you the runaround. And then you hear the same thing from people like a week later, like three people saying the same thing. It's kind of, you get dissuaded from wanting to look into that. You know what I mean? So you feel like if I have to go to this much effort when you already said you were going to do something, you're not doing it. Like, and I already put like that much energy into like making sure you put me on board. Like, why would I want to? Would working for you really be all that, right? Would that really be something that's at all sustainable, even for like a month? I don't know. I don't know. And then there's this other thing I was trying to like, just various odds and ends, just little, I guess you'd call them hustles, but that implies a little more self-starting than is really, I feel, is present in these scenarios. It's like I go to see if I can do some data annotation, entry, whatever, for the AI horse shit. They use my voice for one of them robots or whatever. And they need like six different verification codes. Or not codes, but like captchas, but with your face. You just like send them a picture of your face. You're videoing with your ID out, like that type of shit. I want you to do one on this, one on the other one. And my webcam doesn't work on my laptop, so I have to go on my phone. But my phone screen, half of that is broken, so it's not. My phone's really fucked. Like, it doesn't take calls. I mean, it does sometimes it doesn't. There's no way to predict it. And my phone, like, half the time, the screen's just black, and you can't see like the bottom half of what's going on. So if it needs you to like, say you're opening up whatever app they're using to verify you, and it's got the instructions and the button for how you start the recording process, you can't see that shit. So it's just nothing to be done. It's really frustrating trying to like wing it with this thing going on. Like, 'cause it's like you have to lock the screen, open it back up. You can see it for like a moment. You tap something, now it's black again. Try again, lock the screen, open it up. It's barely gray. Like, you can almost sort of kind of discern what it is. And like, well, you're 2 seconds away from actually getting what you need because you need to do some processing. It goes completely black, and you need to try again. It's like, dude. It's just like so I can make like $30 with no, not even like guarantee of like that being a regular thing, but even like a prospect, right? Like a prospect, if you'd be able to do that multiple times, is non-existent, or at very best, it's slim to none. I don't know why I said non-existent the way I did, but it's just what came out, so we're rolling with it. Sorry to sniff too. I didn't mean to do that. Sorry, guys. Um. Um. So I guess, like, I mean, for a while I was I was really frustrated about I, the situation, situations, the pattern, I guess frequency, if you want to get a little new age with it. Let's get a little new age with it. The frequency, all right, I was in, right, was preventing me from doing what we normally do to make money, right? I guess it's still like something I'm frustrated about because I feel like I need to make money, otherwise there's just all this shame around me, there's shame around you not being able to pay your way through society, pay your way to go out and do things, pay your way to go out and be somewhere without people pressing you to get kicked out, pay your way to live, have a place to rest your head without people pressing you to get out. Yeah, that sort of shit. And if, like, funny thing is, if you took like any random Joe, even someone who maybe fucked up more than I did, fucked up worse than I did, if you took that person and just put them in like the abstract, and you're like, yeah, this person feels like they feel a lot of shame, like it's preventing them from living their life because they can't afford nothing. I would just be like, immediately, I would be like, oh, well, it's not his fault, you know what I mean? Like, it's barely his fault, right? It's ridiculous to blame that on an individual. Is how I see it, with every individual, except for, oddly enough, most of the time myself. Because they're beholden to all these shifting forces and tides in the market, and the world's so interconnected with industry rising and falling in one nation can affect a whole host of industries in the next, and on the other side of the world, yada yada yada. We'll spare ourselves the economic lesson, but it's pretty easy to see that that's the case, at least with me. And so if anyone else is feeling like shamed, I'd be like, bro, it's ridiculous. Like, it's not your fault. But that's not how it feels. Like, it feels like, goddamn, like, I'm the one who doesn't have money. I'm the one who can't afford. I'm the one who keeps getting rejected from, like, every single job they apply to. It's just like, damn. And after that, that's when you start getting into into a little bit of, like, post-materialist, metaphysical, esoteric, spiritual perspectives and kind of ways of looking at your problem, because it really does seem like, on paper, right, like, according to, like, the one view, right, the materialist perspective that we're working with originally, there should be no problem at all here. This should not be happening, right? Because, not trying to jerk myself off, I wouldn't be saying this if there wasn't, like, this wasn't actually happening and I didn't feel like it was really, like, directly relevant to the topic at hand. But, like, people are just like, oh, you're super smart, like, you should be able to get a job, make money easy as pie, easy peasy. And then, like, so why are you wasting your potential and not making any money? I'm just like, well, bro, I'm trying. Like, I don't want to, like, say you're a liar or anything, but, like, I don't know why my voice is cracking, but because I'm so nervous. It's like, I don't want to say you're a liar, but, like, I just don't, like, what you're saying is not being reflected in reality, at least the way you think it translates, or the way you're presenting it as translating now. If that makes sense, I think it does. Like, with my attributes that I supposedly have, it should be nothing stopping me from getting a good paying job that I don't necessarily hate. But it seems like that's impossible for me to find. So I'm wondering, why is that? And obviously, anyone who's listening to this right now might be able to find a whole host of reasons for why that is, just based on, you know, my voice and how I'm presented here in my videos. And believe me, well, it would have been even easier back when I was still showing my face. And I don't know, I feel like I've tried plenty of that line of thinking. You know, I made plenty adjustments, so to speak, in that regard. You know, try and make myself more agreeable, more, quote, likable, end quote, more employable. Change aspects about my, you know, the way I present myself with my personality, the way I present myself physically with my appearance. We try and do, you know, we try and zig on the zigs and zag on the zags so you can be what we need to be in order to be accepted to the degree that allows us to, you know, have a livelihood that we don't fear, or I don't fear, is falling apart every instant. I completely lost my train of thought. I won't even lie. I'm getting into some deep shit here. Bear with me, it's starting to smell. So if they say it's one way, but it's not reflected in reality, and the only way for us to like continue with this hypothesis is for the onus of blame to always be on me. Like, I'm always doing something wrong. There's something I need to be doing that I'm not doing. Something that I'm doing that I need to be not doing. There is just no way of definitively proving that that's not true. So people can always, like, that's a never-ending well of hand-wave explanations for the situation and the circumstances that I'm describing here. So that's always going to be an option. But when you're, you know, no one else is living in your body but you. No one else is that person that everyone that's receiving this feedback, if it's about yourself, right? That you need to change, you need to do this, you need to stop doing this, X, Y, Z. You're the only one who can really judge that for yourself. Are you going to be an impartial judge? Of course not, but that's a non sequitur, because there's no such thing. It's a liberal fantasy, right? The impartial judge that just acts according to the law exactly how they see it, and it's an oxymoron, really. So the potential sway or bias of the judge, being you, judge of yourself, it's just a concept we can kind of throw out the window, or at least I'm going to, because I think that that's another thing you can just definitively just keep kind of pointing to in different dresses and masks, ways of explaining it, to like constantly just push someone into this sort of cycle of shame where they always think that they're doing something wrong, but they have no idea. No one can tell them what it really is, or at least no one has to this point, because I've made so many changes, right? And none of them have produced the desired result, right? So this is a really roundabout way of saying I'm judging for myself that that's not the case. That, like, there's nothing really that I can do to achieve my goal, because my goal is it's not really what I want, right? Like, I mean, there's parts of it that I want. There's parts of it that I don't want. Like, say I need to get a job, or I want to get a job, right? Because I feel like I need to get a job, because I feel like I need to make money so that I can have, like, a respectable, dignified existence and social relationships that aren't feeling like they're always tainted because they're viewing me as, like a rent-seeking leech that just doesn't pull their weight, right? And I mean, I try to, believe you me, I try to just do some work or whatever, but it's not the kind, not the right kind of work. You know, I need to be making this money. I need to be doing something that makes money. I need to be doing something that makes more money. You know, it's never. It feels never ending, really, and it's still not enough. So we're taking a break from that mindset. We're just gonna ease off of it for a second, and like we've been looking into all sorts of different explanations. You know, once you leave that strictly materialist worldview, you just open yourselves up to a host of alternate perceptions and concepts, let's just say that range from really reasonable, like more reasonable it would seem at times at least, than the strictly materialist philosophy, and then also ranging to the entirely ridiculous, just completely delusional, or at least so it seems now, things that kind of still keep you living in like fear and lack and confusion, but with just kind of like an even less describable adversary. Let's go with that one. Car coming by. Fucking hey, that's loud. Sorry about that, y'all. Sorry about that. So you run yourself through the gambit of like, okay, so it's like there's, you know, supernatural, metaphysical things that we can't directly observe that maybe influencing this stage in my life. If that exists, then like what's going on, right? Is, you know, it could. I've thought it's like, is this God just being mean to me? You know what I mean? Are there you know, devilry at play? Am I under some sort of hex by some other person who's employing like these powers beyond our understanding? Like, what's going on? And none of those things, at least I don't think any of the ones I've stated so far, from what I remember. And of course, the air conditioner came on to make it even weirder and noisier on my end. Sorry about that. None of those are really helpful because they still just kind of transfer like blame and stuff. They're not, I guess you could say, empowering. They're kind of keep you locked in a victim mentality and thought pattern, identity. Except that one's probably even like potentially even more confining, because you can't even like, you can't even really like explain or quantify what's working against you, right? It's like, oh, maybe it's the Khazarian mafia and their Babylonian blood money match. That's why I can't get a job, because I'm too woke. Meant in a probably non-traditional sense of the word, but you know, you get it. That's not good. It's just kind of like the Matrix top G sort of line of thinking. And what I'm getting at here, I guess, is I'm trying to come up with alternate explanations that are beyond the strictly material, that are don't dip into the same sort of negative, disempowering, disenfranchising, perceptions, things that kind of keep my agency intact while giving me a little bit more of a satisfactory understanding on the one hand, and a more cohesive and workable sort of plan of action, or at least frame of action, which should be conducted, why it should be conducted, what circumstances it should be conducted under, what circumstances it should sort of be reconsidered under. Sorry, I keep sniffing. Oh man, I keep remembering, like, people aren't gonna like that. Right after I do it, I'm like, oh yeah, people aren't gonna like that when they're listening to this. It's not gonna sound great for the video, but we're getting through it. I think it's a big part of this is me just being able to get my thoughts out. Like, a reason why it took me so long just to explain what was, in a lot of regards, a pretty simple concept, and a pretty simple context as well. It's because I'm still trying to, like, come up with the conclusion here, and that's kind of just how I work. Like, it's like a trait that's associated more with, like, extroversion, I guess, which I am to some degree. I do have some extrovert traits. You have to kind of work through your problems by, like, talking about them, right? And you might, just through the course of argument, just through, like, that sort of, that method of distilling and developing your argument, kind of finding out what you really believe in, what you don't believe in, what about each concept do you want to keep, what parts do you want to get rid of, what parts are you not really sure about, etc., that sort of thing. That's kind of what I'm doing in these videos, especially this one. And, like, so many different, like, avenues, so many different career paths I toyed around with just in those last couple months. I thought, oh, it's going to happen this way. Oh, I thought this is going to be a thing. This is going to be... None of them. None of them were what I thought they were going to be on the one hand. None of them worked out, is what I'm trying to say. I do not still consider any of those to be viable for me. So it's like I'm trying to see what's happening to me. And one theory, I suppose, I came up with, one explanation, was that, okay, so it's not just that I'm being, like, cosmically pranked or whatever by, some dickhead deity, some mischievous, monstrous metaphysical entity is not playing a prank on me. And it's not just that it's not just that I have, like, a really regrettable appearance and attitude every time I come to a potential employer, a potential wage buck source of wage maxing, potential wage maxing node. I don't think that's the case either. Like, I'm really be second guessing myself when I say things like that, but there really is no place that sincerely believes, no part of me that sincerely believes that the reason I don't have a job is because of anything inherently wrong with my my personality or appearance, you know, it's who I am as a person. It's like, oh, what about this? What about that? It's like, okay, no. Like, we already tried so many different things there, and you see some of the people that do get jobs, and it's just like, you know, I'm not trying to be a dick, but like, what the fuck, you know? People will like listen to this and be like, oh, well, there's the reason, you know, because they're just looking for something to try and purport their worldview. But yeah, no, it's kind of freeing even just to say that, like, say like, okay, there's nothing wrong with me, right? I apply to all these places. They want these ridiculous applications, 7 references for our part-time 15-hour job at the cashier stand. It's an exaggeration, but you get what I'm saying. These ridiculous applications, ridiculous work conditions, and ridiculous compensation. It's just something I don't want to do. And the reason why I need these jobs, or feel like I do, is because I need to pay back the people who owe me. I mean, I paid back so many people already, but it's just there's never an end to that. Right? There's never an end. And constantly always having to check. I mean, right now I just can't afford anything. Right now I'm constantly and conspicuously broke. So there's always, but even if I did have money, there's always going to be some way I can stress myself out of it, how I can get this cheaper, how I get that cheaper. And, you know, one thing I heard today, which I kind of agree with, was people saying, like, you just need to make more money. Like, there really is, it feels like you're in the Dante Inferno. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this work, but I think it was the circle reserved for the greedy people whose sin was greed, who went to hell. There was a boulder between these two people, and they were both lying down. Each one of them was pushing the boulder back onto the other. So they just crushed up with the boulder, like, oh, and they just pushed the boulder back to the other guy's like, oh. And those two people represented the miserly on the one hand and the prodigal. So people who had the boulder on the one side were obsessed with collecting money and pinching pennies and bargaining and making sure they spent as little as possible. And then they were saying, why waste? Like, right? And they were pushing the boulder back on the other guys who were prodigal, who could never save money if their life depended on it. They were always trying to just blow it on whatever immediately would fill their need for gratification. The cheap thrills, or not necessarily cheap, just immediate thrills, expensive, whatever. And they were saying, why save? Why hoard? Crush, push back the boulder on the other person. And that's like that's the epitome and summary of the financial advice that you get online these days. You got these one hand of people saying, you don't need to earn more, you need to spend less. And then you got this other just hosted people saying, oh, you don't need to spend less, you need to earn more. That's the only way your finances are going to work. And at some point, you're just always being pulled this way and that in each direction. At some point, you just have a breaking point where you're just like, enough. Like, I'm just going to shoot myself in the foot because I don't really see what else to do. And, like, it will at least be an experience that I can kind of give some variety in my very boring life. As Hamoudi would say, you know, I am aware of this. My life is boring and trash. Oh, so you get that, right? And you get that, and you forget about trying to, like, spend your energy towards saving money, and you just neglect putting your energy towards making money too, because both of these things seem nigh impossible for a lot of us, for the time being at least. So it's just like, all right, well, instead of just constantly just focusing on something it seems like I can't change, and it's just doing so much stress to me. Why don't I just, like, forget about it? Even though, like, all my sense of self-preservation immediately is yelling at me, you can't just neglect these things. It's like, okay, well, I mean, it's I can't just focus on him either, because it just hasn't been helping. It hasn't done anything. I'm still in the same fucking shit boat that I was a month ago. Except for I feel like I have a whole lot less options than when I originally cycled through. So yeah, alternate hypothesis explanations. Maybe I'm being shown that there's a cheaper way to do all these things that I'm looking to do. Right? That I don't need to constantly spend my money and energy making that money to try and keep these things flowing in. Maybe there's another way I can do it, so I don't have to worry about that so much. And that's possible. Something to think about, something to try for sure. And that's really what I'm looking for right now. Sort of working explanations that I guess give me onus to try. I mean, and by that I mean they give me things to occupy my time with that feel productive, or at least don't feel unproductive, and sort of a framework for, it's like, okay, you want your life to get better, try doing this. You want this to happen, try it this way, and just see if it works. See if it works, right? Take an honest assessment of it. Try and be as impartial as you can. Be like a scientist with it. Like, see, like, okay, does this give us, like, any sort of benefit? Are there, like, if you do X, does Y happen? Or if it doesn't happen, are there reasons to assume that it's still, like, there's still avenues worth exploring in this territory, or no? I guess that's what I'm going to try doing these next few days. What I'm going to try doing is just applying a scientific approach to all this crazy woo-woo shit going on in my head. Right, and it's something that one of my homies said way back. I haven't seen this guy in years, like almost been like half a decade now, but he was a cool guy. He's in high school. He's like, I don't know if he's quite valedictorian, but he was definitely up there, and now he's working for, like, weapons manufacturers, making buku bounds of buckos. But he said, like, the difference between just, like, doing shit, just, like, science is just, like, doing shit, like, random shit, and then writing it down. Like, there's doing random shit, and that's just doing random shit. And then doing random shit and, like, writing down what happened, the results, what you did, and what your thoughts were going into it, that's science. That's science. And a lot of dead air there. I just kind of, my brain crashed. I don't know, maybe I'll report back some of my thoughts if I find anything real with this that can help me. If not, I guess I'm in the same boat, so it's not that big a change. This video just keeps going on and on. and I'm sorry about that. But like I said, this is just kind of my way of processing shit. So, I'm sure it's a lot rough around the edges. It's not exactly a plate with great meticulous presentation. I don't know why I said it. It's not a polished work of art is all I'm trying to say. It's just kind of my thoughts and me processing them, how I get them out. So yeah, I guess that's kind of the mood, going to be the mood of the day going forward. Next couple of days or so. Trying to drop our perceptions about how it needs to happen this way or that way, and just kind of see, fuck around, see if there's anything I can come up with, see if I can do that consistently. So yeah, I don't know what to call this video. It's just gonna be like NEET Diaries or something, I don't know. Yeah, why don't we do that? NEET Diary. Alright, ta-ta.